Welcome into this Five Clubs conversation. The final major championship of the year in the men's game, the oldest major championship, a full preview. Rickie, Rory, who needs to salvage their year, and the implications on the Ryder Cup. With Brendon and Jonge, Johnson, Wagner, who have played in the oldest major championship. That is next.
I think this is only a grip.
It's only my sole connection to this.
It's only in my hands on every single shot.
It's an extra 2 yards of carry when it matters most.
Yeah, only a grip.
Mine are only golf pride.
Respect the grip.
And with that, we welcome you in. Boys, good to see you.
You too, Gary.
I would have worn my Five Clubs hat, but you would have been jealous because you don't have any yet. We just got them.
I need to get. Do they have a rope on them?
Not a rope. We're trying to broaden the demos. We're not trying to be narrow. We know you're a rope guy, but we've got to get you guys some hats. How you been? Things good?
Excellent. Happy to be here with you talking Open Championship. We've had a heck of a few weeks in golf since the last major, and it's going to be a great one there in Hoylake.
Yeah, you both played in this. You played in the last Open Championship at Hoylake. When you played in 2012 and 2013, look, you go over there. You both. You don't love golf, let's be honest. But you have an affinity for like looking at golf holes and getting like caught up in shit. Did you find yourself when you got to Lytham in 12, like looking around like, wow, man, this is really cool?
I mean, being such a fan of golf, yes. I just seeing the grandstand, seeing the yellow leaderboards.
Yeah.
It was a great week. I didn't play particularly well that week, but missed the cut, played St. Anne's Links, and then my dad, brother, and I went down to Hillside, which is right next to Birkdale, that weekend before flying back. And then at Muirfield 13, I played great. Leading into that tournament, my brother and I went and played. We played Gowan, North Berwick, and St. Andrews
nice.
Right before the Open at Muirfield. So I can't get enough links golf personally.
How about you? Did you kind of like it when you got over there?
Honestly, I loved it. I really
did?
Yes, I did. You say I don't like golf.
Just because you say you don't like golf.
At one point I did. No, I did. I took in all the nostalgia. I really did enjoy it. I missed the cut. I went and toured Anfield, the soccer stadium, but I did. I really did enjoy it. And as Johnson said, that big iconic yellow leaderboard, that's pretty cool.
It is very cool. I remember the first Open I went to was 2002 at Muirfield, where you played an Open. And I went with my dad, and you mentioned having your dad there. And that was the year that Tiger had won the Masters and the U.S. Open. And he's going there for 3 in a row. And he was in good shape going into the weekend. And he's paired with O'Meara. And I remember doing some radio interviews back to the States on Saturday in the morning. And it was a beautiful morning. And I'm like, this is going to be a glorious day. Tiger's out ladies with Mark O'Meara. This is going to be a really special day. And as soon as I was done, it was almost like, here come the clouds. And it became biblical. I watched all 81 blows that he shot that day.
Is that when he lost his first tee shot?
No, that was not. No, different year.
Okay.
Different year. That was actually day one, first tee shot of the week. But he shot 81 that day. My dad, after an hour, was like, I'm done. I'm going in. I'm having a pint or 12. And I'm like, no, this is historic. I'm going to watch every shot. Now, he did come back and shoot 65 the next day. But all of it, look, you guys are playing. You're not paying attention to all the other things. The fans, the atmosphere, the grandstands, the yellow scoreboards. I was smitten from the moment I got to witness it. It's my favorite major, and I love them all. And we go there, guys, with a lot of interesting things going on. I mean, I think Player of the Year has not been determined. I think the Ryder Cup on both sides, there's a lot yet to be figured out. And we've got somebody in Rickie Fowler who's going back to a major that he has a good record in, and he finished second here the last time, and he just won a golf tournament. Are you feeling like he can take this Mo and maybe go places with this?
His last 10 weeks, he's only had one finish outside the top 17, and that was the PGA where he missed the cut. So his form is as good as anybody's. I mean, arguably, like, the only person I put even close would be Scotty Scheffler, just the consistency that Rickie's had the last 3 months of the season. But, you look at Rickie coming down the stretch of tournaments, and I think he's an awesome dude, and I think he's a great golfer, but I don't think he has the killer instinct. I don't think he is willing to do whatever it takes to beat you. I think he'd rather be liked and be a good person, which is perfectly cool. But watching him win the Rocket Mortgage, every interview he gave, pre-round, post-round, he's like, I'm just happy to be here at LACC. I've dealt with failure before. I'm not afraid to deal with it. And I think to legitimately win major championships, you have to have a different sort of mentality. And that is, I'm here to win. I don't care who you are. I'm here to beat you. And to me, that's the one thing missing from his game.
You don't think that's one of those things, though, that different guys show it differently, right? Obviously, Rickie is as determined as anybody. Maybe he doesn't have that outward fire like a John Rahm or even a Sergio Garcia, even that outward fire. Maybe he just shows it differently.
Can you describe to me someone who's won a major championship before that was laissez-faire, I've got great perspective on life, that's won major championships? Can you give me a comparison?
I mean, I feel like Nick Price was that way to an extent. He was obviously one of the most popular players out there amongst his peers. But yeah, no, maybe there was still a harshness to Nick when necessary. So yeah, actually you do make a good point there.
Well, let me ask you somebody else you've been around when it comes to, there's an affability to Adam Scott. I don't think Adam Scott, at times people look at him and go, he doesn't seem that predatorial. Now, look, he is a generational talent. I don't personally think Rickie is a generational talent. He's a very talented player. He doesn't have a tremendous pop in the bat like some other guys do that I think can cover up some of the other deficiencies that you may have in your game. I get your point. I do about where's the edge? Where's the edge at times with him? I do think that his determination to pull up the bootstraps and do the work to get back to the winner's circle is reflective of something that maybe I didn't think maybe he possessed, which is a drive and determination. And I'm not suggesting he was ever lazy. You couldn't become a top 10 player in the world without work. But to get back to winning, doesn't that reflect on something?
It does, in the work he's done with Butch to rebuild his swing.
Yeah.
I was on Golf Central with Billy Kratzert last week, and Friday we did a swing breakdown from his last top 10 finish before the season was at the CJ Cup fall of 21. And his club head was so laid off. It was like underneath his shoulder blade, how down and laid off it was. And then right now it is perfectly parallel. Club face is in a great position. And this is a major change that he's implemented in the last 12 months. And so the work he's put in, to your point, has been incredible. And he's got all the skills. Like, I think he's an incredible player. He's a great putter, chips it great. He's got plenty of pop in the driver, too. He's still putting it out there a long way. But when you think about coming down the stretch of a major, that's the only thing that lacks in his game. And even when he won Rocket Mortgage, he made that putt in the playoff, and he just kind of stood there like with a relieved look, like, give me a fist pump. Give me some fire.
Right. Yeah, that is a little bit different for sure. Like, and maybe he's very chill now. Like, even when he was doing what he did at the U.S. Open, I mean, like, he's right in the throes of it from the beginning. And even when he shot 62, not really animated at all. Yeah. I will say this, that when the first time he was in a Ryder Cup and he was 4 down at Eduardo Molinari in 2010, and he won the last 4 holes. And I remember Jay Townsend in 2011 when he saw Rickie for the first time under brutal conditions at the Open Championship. And he looked like he was wearing he had on like a white rain suit, which is not a great look.
Darren Clark's
yes, yeah. And he's like, you know what? Thought the kid was soft. No, not at all. Like, he showed. And look, when he won at Wells in 2012, like, he's going to that 18th tee with Rory McIlroy, who was the it guy, and he stuffed it on 18. Like, maybe his comportment gets a little underrated, and he's come up big in some big spots. And of course, the players, Come on, man. I mean, 3-3-2-3.
I know, and Brendon's right. Brendon made the point. Like I want fire out of guys because I play with emotion, and I just don't. I think you need it. But to Brendon's point, like he's not shying away from who he is. He's a cool, calm, collected dude, and maybe that, if he showed fire, that would be a detriment to him. But I do.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that can work both ways, right? I hate to keep bringing it up, but a Jon Rahm, if you're trying to make him quell that, like, it's gonna be to his detriment. To make Rickie show that outward emotion, it might hurt him in the long run. I mean, you're a guy that fist bumps 3-footers in a $5 Nassau, so I know why you want to see all this fire. But
all right, I'll take that. Not Drew Weaver State though. I'm not fist bumping.
Well, you are trending. You are trending.
Oh, a Drew Weaver drop.
You are trending.
The British Amateur Champion from High Point, North Carolina.
The Amateur Champion.
The Amateur Champion. Yes, I stand corrected. What did you think of Hoylake? You liked it, right?
I did. I really did. And I remember
nothing too funky or quirky about it.
No, I think links golf. There's always going to be a little bit quirky here and there. There were some blind shots. I do remember that a couple holes where you didn't see the landing area. Excuse me. I remember going in with the absolute worst game plan. I had played a couple practice rounds with some guys, and they hit a ton of irons off tees, left it short of some bunkers and stuff. And I kind of thought that was the way that the golf course needed to be played. And I was leaving myself so far back on some of those holes, and there's some difficult second shots into a few of those greens. Second round, obviously, I'd played really poorly the first round. Second round, I got a lot more aggressive, hit a lot more drivers off tees, pushed it up further into some areas that were a little bit more narrow, and that was definitely the way to play the golf course.
The golf course itself, so some new bunkers, some harsher runoff areas around greens. Some new tees naturally, as we always have to do. If you go back anywhere now, 9-10 years later, you need a little bit more elasticity, some more yardage. The back nine is can play up to 3,800 yards, which is a ton for an Open Championship venue. To think that if there was two of that's 7,600 yards. And then the new 17th hole, like this. The holes that are for the members are 14, 15, 16 are going to be 16, 17, and 18 for the Open Championship. And the 17th hole is a new hole. They flipped the hole 180 degrees. It's only going to play 135 yards. They named it Little I. It's a devilish little par 3 that you're playing toward the Irish Sea. So possibility, look, it's totally an exposed area. I love the idea between a meaty par 4 16th and then a 600-plus yard par 5 18th to have a teeny little par 3. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I think 15 at Oak Hill was such a great hole, and it Troon that's got the postage stamp? I think little par 3s have a place in golf, and especially in 15 at LACC was not quite what everybody wanted it to be.
Yeah, agreed.
I think golf courses need a little par 3. Throw some variety in there.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, name a memorable 230-yard par 3. It doesn't happen, right? All your great little par 3s are the short ones. And I like what they've done there. You used to go off the 16th tee, you'd walk to the left and shoot back towards 18. Now, obviously, you're going back the other way towards the Irish Sea. And I think you've obviously got some wonderful topography there. Use it. Yeah,
I think the 16th at Cyprus would like a word with you.
Well, outside of 16 at Cyprus,
it's not in a major
perhaps.
Championship rota.
That's a good one, though. That's a good pull, Gary.
Well, as far as the last hole, a par 5 closing hole, we think of Pebble, and obviously the women just had it with the U.S. Women's Open, closing with a 5. Do you guys like a closing 5 in a major championship?
I mean, if it's reachable, I think it adds an element of a bogey eagle sort of flip, so a 3-shot lead isn't necessarily safe. I think par 5 finishing is great. I mean, Pebble Beach is amazing. I'm trying to think of any other great majors that finish on a 5. Like Shinnecock to me is Torrey, but that hole's awful.
I couldn't agree more.
And if you want to get into Torrey, I think that place in general is terrible, other than its location.
I think it's probably seen its last U.S. Open, considering that we're going to Riviera. We know L.A. is back on the books. Like Southern California, I think is covered. So I think your wish is granted. There'll be no more Torrey Pines majors. But what do you think about a closing 5?
I like it. I do. I think it brings in so many more variables, as you say. That eagle bogey 3-shot swing. I think it's a great way to finish. I would obviously prefer it being a risk-reward par 5. Now, it's not really a risk-reward outside. Once you get the tee shot away, that out of bounds is pretty close for the tee shot.
Yes.
And you see those stakes very, very clearly when you're standing on that tee. So I do. And I guess to answer your question, yes, I do like that finish.
Since 19, the Open is now the last major of the year. Do you like that?
The Open can handle it. I think it's given the PGA a little bit more of a level playing field, and I'm fine with the Open being the last major of the year. I'm sad that there aren't any more after it.
Me too.
Just because I love major championships. But the Open, that's not glory's last shot. That's never going to be anything that the Open's going to have to worry about. They have their identity. It's the Open. And I do have to say, of all the tournaments I've ever played, and we've played a ton of golf tournaments in our lives, the 13 Open Championship at Muirfield is my favorite golf tournament I've ever played in.
Really?
It was the town. I had my wife and my parents and my brother, and we had a chef come in a couple nights. We had this sweet house, and I loved everything about it. Scotland is incredible, and the Open Championship will always be, I can't say it's my favorite major, but that one event was by far my favorite tournament.
100%. I couldn't agree more. Same thing. Go into the town. You're just right there. You talk to people. Everybody's very knowledgeable about the game. You don't have to hear all these stupid remarks. It's just different. It really is different. The people over there, the way they embrace you, that you're playing in the tournament, they make you feel special. They really do.
Yeah, particularly when you go to, and I don't think it's that much different in England, but in Scotland, look, golf is a big 4 sport. I mean, you consider how big the event is. And I'm with you about Muirfield. I was not at the 13 Open, but there in 2002. Played the golf course 2 days later. The first time I played it was in 1995. I think Muirfield is, if it's not one of the 3 best, it's absolutely one of the 5 best championship golf courses in the world, I think. I don't know what you guys would think would be number 1 in this country. I think in the Open Rota, that's the purest championship venue that they have.
Yeah, and you look at a year like that 05 year when it was wet and there was rain, and when I played in 13, it was brown. It was like looking at Hoylake from 06 to 14. And it looks like Hoylake's going to be trending more towards that brownish dry Open. And I just love the way the R&A just kind of lets Mother Nature dictate the conditions of the venue, right? You see St. Andrews lush one year, and then 5 years later it's baked out and brown. And I think they've got their setup down better than any of the other. Well, it's hard to put Augusta in that category, but they've got their setup over the U.S. Open, over the PGA Championship. They do it the right way.
Do you think that because the weather is what it is, and you're also dealing with golf courses that, look, we have majors that have 100 years but there's been, tweaking that have been done to some of these golden age golf courses like a Winged Foot in the United States. Do you think that players accept what you get at the Open, partly because of the weather and partly because the golf courses have a natural quirkiness to them that it's like the designer wasn't doing this thinking about the modern game? Do you guys accept things over there easier than you would a major in the States?
I think the majority of guys do. I think you've still got your guys that go over there and bitch about it, but I think the majority
Scott
of the
Hoke
guys,
is not in the field anymore.
Yeah. There's always going to be one.
Sure.
But yeah, I think guys are more willing to accept the as you say, kind of the intricacies or the quirkiness of the golf courses because, yes, it's understood. That's the way it's going to be.
So Rory was 17 under. He shot 271 total in 2014. It was Rickie, who we've talked about just a little bit already. It's interesting that Furyk and Adam Scott all finished in the top 8 the last 2 times that it's been at Hoylake. And those two, they had great long careers. Does that speak to anything to you that those 2 guys had good weeks both times?
I mean, they're all legendary players, so I mean, you would expect them to have great results. And if they get to see a championship venue for a second time, you would think that's right. But I mean, to your point earlier, they're great ball strikers, and they were ball striking the ball well. I think that speaks more to the kind of player that you would look for at Hoylake, given that you need to be able to control your ball not only off the tee but coming into those greens. And so you translate that to who you're looking at now that's more current. I mean, Scotty could certainly have a good week there. But Furyk's not in the field, I know that, unless he
No.
won the Senior Open last year. But yeah, I mean, look for those guys to continue their success. But I'm now looking for, okay, since I got this information from Gary, who are the great ball strikers that are playing well right now?
Yeah. And let me add, Rory, who obviously won the event, if you looked at the strokes gained total for 2014, 4 guys in the top 5, with the exception of Rickie, who was still in the top 25 in strokes gained total for that season, were top 5. I mean, those were thoroughbreds.
Yeah.
And then you go back to 06, and obviously Tiger, that was a sublime performance. DeMarco was a bulldog who finished second, and then you had Furyk, and you had Adam Scott, and you had Sergio. These are guys who were... They were as complete as anybody at the time that they played those 2 opens.
And I think it speaks to the flatness of those greens. There really is not a lot of undulation in any of those greens. So once you get aboard, all the putting's not difficult. Now, that's
a good point.
That's coming from I played it when the wind wasn't blowing really hard. We know how difficult putting in the wind can be. But I think that's the thing. Like, those greens are really, really flat.
If you look at who has won majors, look, guys who really, really can move the golf ball out there: Rahm, Koepka, Wyndham Clark. Again, tacticians have had success at Hoylake in the last 2. Again, 9 years is a long time. Do you feel like that trend's going to hold, that somebody who is considered among the bombers is going to complete the Slam season?
I don't think being a bomber is necessarily an advantage there. You've got fairway bunkers. I mean, Tiger famously in 05 or 06, was laying up back of every bunker. He wanted to take them all out of play, forcing him to hit long irons in. And so I think on links golf as a whole, other than maybe St. Andrews, bombing it isn't necessarily an advantage, because it just brings more trouble into play the further down there you get with some nasty bunkers. So I just think it's more form and who. I think we're going to have a great champion, and I think it's going to be somebody that has played well all year.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could be a bomber that wins, but he's not going to win it because he's a bomber.
Right.
That's well said. All right, so let me start with Wyndham Clark. Whatever happens at the Open, look, he played in it last year. He made the cut. I think he finished tied for 76. It's a whole new world for him. He's broken through a vortex of not only winning for the first time in a designated event at Quail Hollow, and then he validates the skin by winning a U.S. Open and doing it in a way, Johnson, that was like, people are going like, okay, I've never heard of this guy, and I'm not talking about people who follow golf closely. Like, who is this guy? Am I never going to hear from him again? The thing that struck me most about how he won, like, the guy handled like all of it exceptionally well.
His short game was outstanding. I mean, he got up and down for bogey on 8 on Sunday after being in the left Barranca. He gets it up and down out of nowhere on 9. 11 was one of the most ridiculous shots of the week.
Stupid.
And then 17, after he's kind of rattled off a couple bogeys on 15 and 16, he finds himself with a pretty easy pitch, got a good break on his lie.
Yeah, he did.
And he hits it to 3 inches and just made everything look really easy. The lag putt on 18, like, he showed a lot of composure. And I think John Ellis being on the bag for him, he's a former player, won bunch on the Canadian Tour, I believe 8 times, if I'm correct. That seems like a lot, but I think having a guy like that that's experienced and has been in the hunt, I think the ceiling is high for Wyndham. He drives it long and straight. His iron play is much improved. His short game's next level. Like, it all for me is can he get hot with the putter? And according to Brendon, the greens are pretty easy to putt at Hoylake. So I mean, why not keep it going?
What are your expectations of him?
I don't see him contending just purely because he hasn't played a lot of links golf. But I agree with what Johnson said. He made it look like he'd been there 1,000 times. The clarity of thought. 16, he got in there, and obviously the options were kind of dictated by how close he was to the lip, but wedged it out to a perfect yardage for himself, hit it in there close, should have really made par. And then, how easy he made that chip shot look on 17, which, sure, it's not a difficult chip shot other than it's the 71st hole of a U.S. Open. And he's gone bogey. And he's gone bogey, right. And then steps up there and hits just an unbelievable lag putt on 18. And he did. He made it look like he'd been there 1,000 times.
Yeah, that was the thing that impressed me the most. I'm with you guys. Look, if he has a really good week, I'm not going to be shocked. If he doesn't, I'm not going to
Yeah.
be shocked. Do you think, because he won the U.S. Open and he's got that other huge win, he's in really good shape for the Ryder Cup? If for some strange reason he has like a really quiet July and through the playoffs, would he be in peril if he slipped out of the top 6, or is he going to be on the Ryder Cup team?
I mean, he's second right now.
Exactly.
I would find it hard for him if he didn't even play. I think he would probably still be in that top 6 with only one major left. But certainly, if he dropped to 7 or 8 with poor play, he's not a guy that's played on a team event. You wouldn't be clamoring, I'd rather pick a Rickie Fowler over
Sure.
him if I had to make a pick on somebody.
Okay. So even if if he falls, to Johnson's point, it's not going to be like he's going to be in a precarious 11th position. He's second, and it's one major, it's 3 playoff events. Do you think he's on the team?
Yeah, I do. I think you'd have to play really, really poorly between now and then. But I also think it depends who else is not on that team, like who's around there and who's on that team. If you've got a bunch of rookies that are already on the team and you need a little bit of experience, he might be a guy that could get looked over. But he, as you say, he's second right now. He'd have to play really poorly between now and the end of the season.
Okay, so we'll go in reverse orders. So the guy who won the major before him is Brooks Koepka. And because he doesn't play any other tour events, he is in a more precarious position as far as slipping down. But if he jumps up and he has another top 5 in a major, look, I think he's on the team. Do you think he's on the team?
I mean, I hate. Can we not pull my comments from previous preview shows because I said there was no way he was going to be on the team. But yeah, I don't see there's any way you keep him off of it. He's third in the standing.
Lots changed, by the way, since you made those comments.
He's had a second at the Masters, won the PGA in incredible fashion. There's no way he is not playing.
And finished top 20 at the U.S. Open on a golf course that he said he didn't like. So,
yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a lock.
He is a lock. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm with you. I think he's a lock as well. How about at the Open? If you look at the record there, look, he was kind of in that 19 year when he was the guy, and it seemed like he was going to win every major. Fleetwood was right there, and Brooks was right there. And it wound up being Shane Lowry, who was better than everybody. What do you think about Brooks at Hoylake?
I mean, I think his game translates to anywhere. He has shown us that he's ready to perform in majors this year. I don't think he's gonna win, but I think he'll be there come the end.
So you would put him among the favorites, so still absolutely
100%.
Even though he said he doesn't like blind shots at LA, and he's going to see a few.
Well, he played well at Valderrama last week.
I know.
On the Live. I mean, I just think he's getting ready. That's all he cares about are majors.
Yeah.
Yeah, four top 10s at the.
You're not going to pick him again, are you?
I'm not going to pick him this time. No, I'm not going to pick him, but he definitely goes in one of the favorites.
All right, let's go back to Rahm. Last week, you guys had Adam Hayes in here to talk about all things Adam Hayes' life, his journey with John, plus everybody else. It was a great show. And you talked about the Open. And you asked about John's record relative to these other majors being modest. And Adam did bring up a good point. Look, a lot of us don't remember bad size of the draw when somebody's outside the top 10 or has a chance to win. He had the one good year at an Open Championship. What about Rahm?
I think he's a threat wherever he plays. He's not going to play the Scottish Open, which is a little bit questionable, but Adam told us that he's taken 3 weeks off. They're tired at the end of the year. The designated event model has worn these guys down, and I think it's a good thing for him. He's going to come in fresh. I'm sure he's going to be at home practicing. It's just 3 weeks is a long time off going into a major championship, so hopefully he gets over there and plays some links golf before.
He was the one guy, when you were telling us everyone's results, he was the one guy that surprised me. I really thought he had a better record in the majors. Just that one top 10, I think he finished third in 2021 maybe.
Right.
That really did surprise me. We talked about it. He's won a couple Irish Opens and destroyed a couple fields in the Irish Open, so definitely likes the links golf. Yeah, I agree with Johnson. I think he's always a threat. Does he come in as one of the favorites? Yeah, he has to. I wouldn't say he's the favorite, but definitely comes in as one of.
The Irish Open wins, those were run-ups to the Open, and now the Irish Open is in a different spot, so he doesn't have that. Now, look, it's not like you go, well, he played in that and he has a great record in the Open. He doesn't. He only has the one top 5, so maybe it will be a good thing. And I think of the players who have, put the foot on the gas the whole year, considering he won the first major and what he did in getting there and winning the 4 times and being in contention. The only other guy, and he's only won twice, and I say only, is Scheffler. And Scotty, it's absurd. Like, come on, man. Like, isn't there going to be a week where you're going to look fatigued and just go, you know what? I can't win. I'm going to check out. I'm going to finish 19th. No, I'm not. I'm going to finish 6th. It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous, and to the point of ball striking being important at Hoylake. Can you look at anybody that fits it better? And he's been struggling with his putting, which I think is rounding a corner into success. But, I mean, you look at a guy like Scheffler, he will be in the top 5 of that major.
He's going to be, isn't he?
No, I don't think so.
This is where the streak ends?
I do. I
think
so.
The last major.
Again, Scotty's not a guy that's played a lot of links golf.
No.
Yeah, I think this is where the streak ends. I think it has to come to an end at some point.
Well, you're right. It has to. Here's the thing, though, about his year. Like, he's having a historically great ball striking year. And winning a major is very elusive. But if he doesn't get a major out of this year and he has all these top 5s and top 7s and he's right on the doorstep, and I know he's going to rue that Saturday at Oak Hill where he went flat and then he came back and he had shot 65 on Sunday. If he doesn't get a major this year, like these windows of this historic flow state that he's in, I think he needs to pick this one off, man. Like, next April's a long way off. You don't know. I'm not saying he's going to fall off the earth, but this is extraordinary what he's done this year. And when I say only, when you've been as good as he's been, like, he should have 5 wins.
I mean, he did win the Players' Championship.
Yes, huge.
I am of the belief that it's not as good as winning a major. It is the 5th major, but like, it's still going to be a successful year whether or not he wins it or not. He's still young. The window is wide open for Scotty. The run time he's got coming up is years, if not a decade, of major championship run.
You don't think that he'll look back at the end of this year and think to himself, my God, I've hit the ball so good.
The answer is yes.
I have hit the ball so good for so long, and I haven't picked off one of these 4 coveted events. There's going to be a level of disappointment.
Look, you're probably right, but this idea of windows staying open forever, the Spieth window looked like it was the greatest, view of the world that there was, and then it closed. And after 17,
it's still open, by the way.
Yeah, but it's not as open as it was.
Fair,
man.
but it's still open.
It might be cracked.
Tiny
little crack that he's
can definitely win this Open Championship.
No, he can. But look, and I liked his chances a ton at the U.S. Open. He didn't make the cut. You worried at all about him going into this Open Championship? He won it in 17. He's got as much intuition. Look, give him a shot. He's got to create. I'll take him over most everybody. What do you think about Spieth?
Yeah, I think.
Oh God!
He is not my pick to win. I can't wait to tell you who is.
We need to shut this show down.
But Jordan, I mean, I'm fine with him. Jordan works so hard. He's such a competitor. He's always got that fire in him, and I don't think he's going to win, but I think he'll put on a good show this year, and I do believe he will win more majors. He's not going to win just one more. He's going to win at least 2 more in his career. I'm that bullish on him.
Yeah. Look, he's going to turn. He's turning 29 here. I think he actually just turned 29 or turned 30. So he joins JT, who's 30. Just a quick thought on JT. Is this the kind of quote lost season that is going to cost him a Ryder Cup spot?
I don't think it's going to cost him a Ryder Cup spot, and I think it's time to make a change in JT's camp. If you look at the history of him and Bones, they've won 1 time together. And granted, that was the PGA Championship.
Yeah.
But I think Jimmy Johnson was a great caddy, had the right sort of temperament for JT. And I'm not saying Bones isn't a great caddy. I just think that relationship has run its course. It's not working, clearly. And when you look at a player that's struggling, you would fire your coach first. Well, that's his dad.
Right.
He's not going to fire his dad. And then you look to the caddy. And I think he needs to make a change and start over.
Interesting.
I thought he had turned a little corner there at Travelers.
Sure.
I thought he had turned a corner. I was very surprised to see him struggle last week at Rocket Mortgage there. I thought, a golf course where guys have to make a ton of birdies. I thought he was going to come out after making a ton of birdies at Travelers and do the same. I don't know if he's to the point yet of needing to make a change, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if it's kind of in the back of his mind somewhere.
Wow. The Ryder Cup thing, you just kind of, you went by it like, yeah, he's going to be fine. And I'm not saying I disagree, because I don't. Why is he so secure? More secure than anybody else who is having as flat a season as he is having for his persona, his reputation.
Well, I believe he and Jordan both sit on that Ryder Cup, whatever command center they call it. I don't know what it's called, but
I like that name.
The Ryder Cup command center. But he's a part of the fabric of the future of that team.
Yeah.
And whether it's a bad year or not, that's why they have those 6 picks. It's not like they have 4 picks or 2 picks like they used to, and it would look awkward picking a guy like that. But I mean, he's up there high enough in the standings. JT's going to be on that team. When he comes to Ryder Cup, President's Cup, it doesn't matter so much about form. It matters I mean, for a guy like that, like, it's going to get him going. He's a good teammate, and there's no way he's not on that team.
Yeah, I think he's kind of taken over that mantra of Johnson's buddy Patrick Reed there, of getting everybody really, really fired up. We saw it there at Quail at the President's Cup. He was the vocal leader. Sent him out first in the singles. Same thing at Whistling Straits. And I think he's kind of taken that upon himself to be the irritant of the opposing team.
Yeah, I'm with you guys that I think he's a made guy in this respect. That first of all, him and Spieth are tethered together. They were unbeatable at Quail Hollow. They obviously had a good run at Whistling Straits. He's an irritant. The United States, I think, has been in need of like a kind of a touchstone irritant. And
especially on the road.
Especially on the road.
Yeah.
And he's unafraid. It was actually Tron Carter. I give him credit for this, because he's the one who said, when did Justin Thomas play point guard at Duke? That is the perfect way to describe like the way that he is. Like the kind of guy that you want to drag out into the parking lot.
Hurley.
You can, not Bobby Hurley, not the golfer from
Billy Hurley's
the
a
Naval
nice
Academy.
Yeah, sorry.
I can go through every Duke point guard for the last 30 years. I hated them all.
Grayson
Allen. He wasn't a point guard,
Yeah,
but
but
very hateable.
Yeah, very hateable.
Steve Wojciechowski. I can go on and on. But anyway, I think he's on the team. That gets me to a few other guys, and let's start with their chances here. Morikawa. Look, the guy hadn't won in a while, which is the last time he won was the Open Championship. We're moving on 2 years. It goes quick.
He is my pick to win the Open this year.
Okay.
And I watched every single shot he hit at Detroit in the Rocket Mortgage last week. He made 1 bogey for the week. He led the field in scrambling. His short game was ridiculous. I actually did a nice breakdown on it. And
saw it.
I was blown away by the touch he had, from buried lies in the rough to bunker shots to the fairway. He was putting speed on it at the right time. I think him having a short game allows his putter to become a little more confident, and he's started fading the ball again. He's not worried about it going left. He looked like a man on a mission. And when I speak of people that have that instinct and that look in their eye, like a Rahm or a Spieth when they get in the hunt, Colin Morikawa last at the Rocket Mortgage on Wednesday with Steve Burkowski. I'm here to win. Every single press conference he gave, he didn't make any I'm here to do one thing and one thing only. I'm here to win. And I love that about him. He is 100% going to be on that Ryder Cup team.
Okay. So, look, if he wins, the non-starter is a question. What do you think of Morikawa this week at the Open?
I think he'll do well. Obviously, he's already got past success there.
Yep.
But I still think he needs to play well from here going on to make that Ryder Cup team. I don't think he's an absolute lock. I think he needs a couple more really good results moving forward these next 6-8 weeks to be on that team.
I think showing what he did there, and I don't take for granted 2 things. One, he missed that ball being 3 feet by a yard
on the playoff hole?
In the playoff hole, a yard. And then secondly, guy was hanging around the hunt at the Memorial and had to flake out because of back spasms. Who knows what the result would have been if he didn't have to withdraw from that event. That is I think he's absolutely, that's another top 10. Maybe it was a top 5. So he would have had that kind of momentum going into an event where he obviously almost won at Rocket Mortgage. I think he's on the team. I think he's another one of those guys like, look, I want grown-ups. I want guys who have been baptized to some degree, and I want somebody who is hitting it out of the middle of the face under the heat that comes from the first tee. I think he's going to be on the team.
He's 9th in the standings right now.
Yeah,
And when you
right.
look at what he does on the golf course, I would love to play alternate shot with Colin Morikawa because every time he touches a driver, you know it's going to be in the center of the fairway. And every time he hits a shot, I'd love to putt for the guy, right? I think we'd be a great team. Maybe I can call Zach and be like, hey, I'm like JT and Spieth. It's me and Colin. We'll be
I'm going to guess probably not.
I'd be a terrible alternate shot partner because I couldn't find a fairway to save my life. But Colin, I think, is the best alternate shot player on that Ryder Cup team, bar none.
With the exception, would you still put him over Scheffler?
Well,
Let's just make him 1A.
well, they'd be a hell of a team. Now that's the team: Scheffler, Colin, alt shot.
Well, now, here we get to, and again, I'm not trying to make this a Ryder Cup preview, but like Sam Burns, he is very much in a precarious place. He was Scheffler's guy. I think Scotty might be looking for a new guy. Another guy who's going to be on the team because he's so productive. Patrick Cantlay needs a week at a major. I mean, look, I understand that he got a top 10 this year in a major championship. He's got 4 in his career. That is a very paltry total for a guy who's as good as he is, Johnson. He's got to have a week, doesn't he?
Yeah, top 10 player in the world, and it seems like all those top 10s, he backdoors his way into them at majors as well. He's never really been a part of a story in a major championship. Maybe once at the Masters he was on the weekend.
In 19.
But he's just not a part of the story going in, and next thing you know, you're like, oh, he finished T9 with a 65 on Sunday. Like, he needs to put himself in position on the weekend and feel what it feels like in that scenario.
What do you think about Cantlay at the Open?
I think he'll do okay. I don't look for him to contend.
Okay.
I agree with Johnson. You've got these 4 top 10s. They've all been backdoors, again, outside of the Masters in 19. I think he'll be on that Ryder Cup team, though. I think, again, he'd be a wonderful alternate shot player, alternate shot partner, doesn't miss a lot of fairways.
He's on the team
solid.
with Shoffley. They're tethered together.
Yeah.
I'm with you, though. Like he finished 3rd at the PGA in 19. He was never going to win the golf tournament. He was a million shots back of Brooks. It's a great week. It's a great week. There was a stat that Justin Ray, among the many amazing, countless stats that he comes up with, he has never started a final round of a major within 5 shots of the lead. Really?
That's shocking.
That is shocking.
One thing about him, too, at the Open Championship, I think he hits the ball too high. I don't think he's varied enough in his iron play, especially, to be able to play in high winds like you would expect over there.
Okay, how about Max Homa at the Open? Again, guy needs a week, man. He needs a week for his major championship season. At some point, now with 6 wins, he's won a couple times this year. You got to break through. You got to get a top 10.
Yeah, a long time.
Long time.
He was there at Bay Hill for a little bit, but since then hasn't been a story all season. He did have a hole-in-one on Sunday last week, or at the Rocket Mortgage, but it's been crickets from him since basically the Players Championship on.
Yeah, I don't look for Max Homa to do anything.
Don't.
No, I think of the 4 majors, this would probably be the least one that would fit his game.
And I've been watching a lot of him lately on PGA Tour Live and stuff, and he seems to be missing that driver left a lot. And when you think about Colin Morikawa, he finally got away from hitting those occasional pulls with that driver. And Brendon, you can probably speak to this, but as a fader of the golf ball, when you start missing that driver left, it's gotta do crazy things to your head.
It's scary. It really is. When you start aiming down the left side and you see that ball going left, and unfortunately you see it going left and it's in that heather, you might or might not find it. So, yeah, he needs to figure that driver out if he's going to be any kind of contention.
All right, let's get to the Rory question. It's been a very productive major championship season, but this is agonizing. It's got to be agonizing for him to some degree. It's an amazing thing to really put yourself in the heat of it most times. Yes, there have been some times that it was, you can say backdoor this and that, but if you look at that U.S. Open, I mean, he's right there. And the PGA Championship, was he right there? Not necessarily. But if you look at 7 of the last 9 major championships, he's in the top 10. really been in the heat of it. Obviously, the Open last year. I think that's the most gutting thing that he's experienced yet in his career. He shot 70 in the final round. He won here the last time. What do you think of Rory?
I think his problem this year is that he's been making too many bogeys, and the one, I mean, a lot of positives to take away from the U.S. Open for him, but he was able to keep bogeys off the card. Sunday, yes, he had birdied the first and didn't make another birdie all day, but he only made one bogey on a Sunday of a major. I just think
it was a killer bogey.
It was, with a wedge in his hand on a par 5, and I feel like he needs to find a balance between being too aggressive like he was at PGA maybe on the weekend, feeling like he had to gain ground, and too conservative like I think he was at the U.S. Open. I think he has to play aggressively, but smartly. And controlling your golf ball, being able to miss it on the right sides, knowing when you have an opportunity to take advantage of something, knowing when to be aggressive, knowing when to lay up. I feel like, and we've talked about it at length, like his caddy is an issue, and I do not think that he is a real asset to his team. And if like you talked about it on 14, at the U.S. Open on Sunday, ship it all the way up by the green, figure out a way to get a look at birdie and make a par. But he lays it up, he buries it in that face of that bunker, and it was basically over. Had Wyndham Clark not bogeyed 15 and 16, it wouldn't have even been so close. So I just think what makes him great is his aggressiveness, but he also needs to balance it.
Yeah, the 14th hole, Brendon, to me was, like, when I look back on that Sunday, other than that moment, yes, you're going to deliberate between one thing, but this was like a critical decision. And I felt like in the conversation that we was having, like he was appealing to him to whatever degree he might appeal to Harry Diamond. And like that was Harry's moment to say, hey, chase something up there as close to the green as you can. We got a better chance of making 4. You're not even thinking about 5. Better chance of making 4 from anywhere around that green. Hit it in that front bunker. Hit it left. Well, and instead he lays up, and obviously he hit a poor third. Got a hell of a break on a decision that the USGA has come out since and said was the wrong decision. We can talk about that stuff all day long. Do you think he has a chance again to go back there and win?
Oh, very much so, yes.
You put him absolutely among your top 3 favorites?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
Yes, 100%. Getting back to that, Rory showed me a lot in that final round of the U.S. Open, a lot. I thought he was, I wouldn't say overly cautious. I thought he was very, very patient. And to your point, I think the only error that he made was a tactical error on 14. He got very, very lucky with the lie that he drew in the left rough off the tee there. He could have put any club he wanted on that ball, chase it up into that front bunker, chase it down that left side. I mean, maybe could have got a little bit fortunate to hit the shot that Wyndham did in that small gap, chase it up there. All the bogeys had been made from guys that were laying it up. It was such a difficult wedge shot. I think that to me was the only error that he made on that championship Sunday.
Yeah, when I think about decision making, look, this is splitting hairs. I'm sitting here saying you got to hit it closer on 18. That's not a decision making error. That was an execution error, and then you got to make 4 on 8. I mean, it's like that. Yeah. With that, you can't not touch the hole from 4 feet at bare minimum. That ball's got to go by the hole, and you got to have 3.5 feet coming kind of slightly back up the hill. Do you like his chances, though, at Hoylake to win again?
Absolutely. I mean,
he's among your top 3.
100%.
Yeah.
Wherever he tees it up, he's going to be. It doesn't matter what form he's been in.
Is it getting harder, though? Because does all this make it harder?
No, I think he would say no. He keeps doing the right thing.
It's not what he would say. You know what he and Bob Rotella are going to tell you.
Yeah, I know, but he keeps putting himself in that position, and yes, maybe to an extent, the longer the time goes between his last major, yes, of course, it's going to be more and more pressure that builds every year. But I think this is a good one. At the end of the year, doesn't have the stress of the Masters, which you've alluded to many times, how hard that's going to continue to be for him. I think he's had disappointments at the PGA and the U.S. Open, and I think this one he's like, you know what, I won here before. It's going to be a whatever.
It might be a matter of time till someone hands McIlroy one.
He may need that. Right? He may need it that way. And plenty of guys have gotten him that way.
Yeah, you keep putting yourself
Sir Nick
there.
Faldo, love you, but I mean,
it doesn't happen so much anymore. I guess JT maybe last year got one handed to him. At least the opportunity in a playoff got handed to him.
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't have seen that playoff.
Right, you keep putting yourself there. You never know. It might happen. Someone might hand him one.
Yeah, I'm with you that you can say, well, this is the last one. the other part, and again, I'm not trying to psychoanalyze him, from a dime store level, but it's also like, if I don't get this one, here's what I know is going to happen. Then we're going to be talking about this is now 10 years because it was 2014. Look, I think it's admirable that he keeps putting himself there. I just got to believe, though, that this vortex that he's trying to break through is only getting thicker. And if somebody gifts him one and kicks him one, or if he blitzes the field and he wins one, I think it could be an off to the races kind of back end of his prime that he could go from 4 to 8 in a blink. You guys share that thought?
I'm with you completely. And it's that first one. It's almost like I'm not going to use the analogy I just had in my head, but
Do it.
It's almost like he's like a virgin again, right? And he's got to get through it once again. Anyway, I don't know where I was going with that one, but
McLovin loved that analogy.
He's got his second virginity here, and he's got to pop it.
I will say this: that Rory's next major will not be Augusta. He is going to have to win.
I'm with you.
He's going to have to win
in
one
order
before
to win
Augusta.
the Masters. I think he's got. That's enough. Now you add the fact that it's. Hey, look, man, I won a major two events ago or whatever it was. I still believe he's going to win the Masters. I think it's going to require, and again, I'm not going to go to all the historical stuff of the guys who won the career Grand Slam. Like the longest it took anybody was 3 years. 3 years. He's looking at, this is going to be year number 10 for him. Quick thought on a couple other guys. Hovland is showing that he can swim in the deep end of the pool.
And the work he's put in on the short game has shown up, and his win at Muirfield was incredible. Muirfield Village, on an Open Championship show. Hovland's there. He's got all the tools. Hits it like you think of Scheffler, Morikawa, Hovland are my top 3 ball strikers on the PGA Tour right now. Rory's probably in there as well, but Hovland's a threat anywhere, especially if he can have a consistent short game play.
Yeah, I agree. I think Victor Hovland he'll be a story at the end of this week. You've seen him put himself in contention here.
Impressive.
Recently, very, very impressive. Outside of maybe catching that bunker shot a little bit thin at the PGA. Who knows? He could have been in a playoff that week.
Yeah, I think he's. There's no doubt he's in a different place, and it's cool to see. And let me tell you, that European team, that European Ryder Cup team, maybe light on experience on the back end. They got some horses on the front end that they can ride all 5 sessions. Hovland, Rahm, Rory. Look, Fleetwood is showing really good form. How about Finau? Tony's had a very disappointing major championship season. Yeah, come on, man.
It's weird. He's won now twice this season.
Yes.
And he is sitting at like 18th on the Ryder Cup standings, which is shocking to me. We almost left him off of our preview show.
We did leave Hovland off.
We did leave Hovland off too, but it's weird. And he doesn't win big events, and he doesn't really show up in big events that often. Mm-hmm. He wins Mexico. He won Houston.
Right.
The 3M, Detroit. Like he's.
No, that's what you look.
I would rather
don't get angry. It's what we do. He's an elite player.
For sure.
He is going to be on another Ryder Cup team, and you start to go, well, you distinguish between who you beat, where you won, and all that stuff, and he's in that category. That's what you do. You just don't say he's got 6 wins. You start looking at where he won, and the fact is the guy's got 1 top 25 in a major in his last 9 major championship starts. He's better than that, isn't he?
He
Much
is
better.
But he's just not. He has not shown consistency in his ball striking and his putting, and I think until he can be more consistent with it, like I would rather have Rickie Fowler on that Ryder Cup team right now than Tony Finau.
Really?
100%.
Wow, God, he played well at Whistling Straits. He actually played well in Paris, and he played well at Quail Hollow. Like, the one thing I'll say about Tony, and look, this is not bagging on him, everybody loves Tony. The one thing I have been impressed with him, in that environment, he's responded very, very well in the team environment. He's played very well on the teams he's been on, including when he went to Paris and everybody else got bludgeoned. He stood up pretty tall. You would take Fowler over Finau right now.
If I had to pick the team today, I would.
Gotcha. All right, two other quickies. Tyrrell Hatton, I think, is sneaky. He's a sneaky good pick for this place. You go back to the stats we talked about at the beginning. Strokes gained total. Guy shows up in every category. He's top 10 through the bag. Fowler was the last Englishman to win an Open Championship. It was 92. Hatton, would he be like second level of guys, third level for you guys?
Yeah, I don't think you can go as far as to say he'd be a dark horse.
No.
He's too high in the world rankings.
I think he's too high for dark horse.
But yeah, I would say he's
even though you're trying to sneak him in?
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. He's certainly
I don't know, do you think he's a dark horse?
He's certainly in a lower level of the favorites, yeah. But I don't count him out.
Okay.
Yeah, that ball striking travels wherever he goes. I mean, you look at the places he's played well, like a Bay Hill where he won his one event on the PGA Tour. One of the hardest weeks of the year. They firm that place up. The greens get like concrete on the weekend. So I think he can play in any kind of condition. And do you think there's a lot of pressure on Englishmen in the Open Championship? Do you think they feel it more so than an American does in the U.S. Open, like that kind of pressure?
Yeah, I think so. Because as Gary said, it hasn't been since Faldo won. That's a long time.
Yeah, I remember, Tommy was close in 19. And, of course, that's really home for him, that immediate area. And I think the work that he's done with Butch, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Fleetwood was hanging around. He's had a very good season. We're going to hold on to these 4 days. I mean, these are precious days that we love them. Will you be up at 3 o'clock in the morning? Or actually, it's 1:30 or 1:40 for first ball in the air, 6:40 local time.
I will actually be overseas at the time, so I'll be able to watch it at the right time. But
yeah,
I would.
Will you be watching cricket?
I'll be watching a bit of cricket. I'll be watching a bit of golf, a little bit of soccer. No, it is.
Where are you going to be?
I'll be in Sweden at the time.
Oh, nice.
But this is actually the one tournament where I would wake up at 3 in the morning and I would sit there all day and watch it. It was a tournament that captured me for sure.
Very good. You aren't you? Are you working that week?
I am. I'm working the Barracuda Championship out in Tahoe, so it's going to be even earlier for me out there. But I'll
be
watch.
Having a cold guy at 10 o'clock at night watching first tee shots.
That's not a bad idea.
Sounds very tempting.
Yeah, that sounds
all right,
great.
so to repeat ourselves, your pick to win is?
Rory.
Oh, he's playing the Rory card.
Yep.
Wow.
Very, very good open record.
Yes,
very
outstanding.
Good open record. And one last time we were at Liverpool at Hoylake. Rory, for sure.
Okay.
Colin Morikawa.
Say it again.
Colin Morikawa. He showed me a lot in Detroit, and I love his fight and his determination, and he's hungry to win, man.
Okay. You guys scoffed at my Cam Smith pick at the U.S. Open. He top fived it, didn't get a W. I'm playing the Rory card myself. Oh. I think that. And again, I don't know how it's going to happen. Who knows? Maybe he needs somebody to bark on the last hole, or maybe not. I don't know. I just think that he's going to end this anguish for not only himself, but a ton of people who root like hell for him. And it'd be a hell of a way to pull the curtain on the major championship season and a 12 months that have been as tumultuous for him, I'm sure, emotionally, as any that he's had in his professional life, considering all the live stuff, being the spokesperson, and I'm going to play the Rory card and feel pretty good about it. And like you said, his Open Championship record is great. Guys, as always, love chopping it up, talking major championship golf with you guys. Enjoy the Barracuda. Have a nice tall one for the first tee shots. It's 10:40 local time out there in Reno.
I can't wait.
Enjoy Sweden, my friend.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you guys. Most importantly, thank everybody out there for watching our Open Championship preview here on 5 Clubs.